Sa video na to, pag-uusapan natin yung meaning ng psychology or yung tinatawag na definition. So, what is the definition of psychology? Ang definition ng psychology ay psychology is the scientific study of behavior and mental processes. Ang ibig sabihin ng scientific ay dahil ginagamitan natin siya ng siyensya or science, it takes the scientific approach to understanding human behavior. So that's why we call it scientific. Psychology is a scientific study of behavior and mental processes. The term psychology comes from two Greek words, psych meaning mind, psyche meaning mind, and logos meaning study. But ang ine-emphasize nito is to study the human organism, tayo. Yan. And including the person's individual physiology. Physiology meaning ito yung function or I know and we know it is a branch of biology. Tama ba yun? Branch of biology itong physiology. That's why they, go hand in hand together. But physiology is the study of how our body, how the human body works. So that is the meaning of physiology. And it's also emphasized the study of society and culture, as well as the study of thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and values. But the question is, isn't psychology really the science of the mind? Ang nagbanggit yan ay hindi ako. Sinabi ko lang. Si William James noong 1890. Dinefine niya yung psychology. He defined psychology as the science of mental life. Meaning, mental, meaning it is related to our brain, related to our thinking, related to our mind. So, the science of the mind. Binanggit niya itong science of the mind, or dinefine niya, na ang psychology is the science of mental life or science of the mind. Because yung both of its phenomena and their conditions, katulad ng mga bago natin ituloy yan, phenomena, ano ba yun? Yung mga bagay na na-observe mo, literally, around us. Binibigyan lang kita ng literal na example para madali mong ma-adapt itong mga sinasabi ko, mag-grasp yung meaning. So, yung phenomena like pagsabog ng bulkan, paglindol, yan, na-observe natin yan, di ba? Pagbaha sa iba't ibang parte ng bansa, at yung pagkidlat, yun yung mga tinatawag na phenomena. Ito yung mga bagay na, in psychology, ito yung mga bagay na ino-observe, yung feelings, yung nararamdaman ng isang tao, ng human being, yung desires niya, yung mind or cognitions, yung reasonings ng isang tao, yung decision making niya. So, ito yung mga bagay na kaya niya na-defined itong psychology is the science of the mind kasi ito yung bumubuo niyan . Naintindihan? They are variety and very complex. This is very complex. Kasi hindi naman natin pwedeng i-dissect talaga yung mind sa science. Kaya nga sabi nila maraming debate dyan yung science. Yung psychology ba talagang science? Sabi nila hindi. Kasi nga, sige nga, i-dissect mo nga yung utak, di ba? Paano mo nadadissect yung utak. I mean, yung mind, i-dissect mo nga yung mind. Hindi, di ba? Hindi natin magagawa yun. Kasi, very impossible. So, it's really complex. I'm not saying that literally we are dissecting the human mind. What I mean to say is investigating the psyche of a person, of a human. So, more particularly, a way to sort out issues that result from the actions undertaken by our mind, by the mind of a person, by the mind of a human being. And that's what I mean to say by that. And to give you a solid example, let's say meron kang kausap at tinitingnan mo siya Nagagandahan ka lang o kaya nagagopuhan ka lang. Pero hindi mo alam kung anong tumatakbo sa isipan niya. Laging nating sinasabi yan eh. We don't know what's in their head. In their heads. What's going on, what's happening in there. Kasi kahit buklatin natin yung bungo yan, bungo talaga yun. Yung tingnan natin yung utak niya, wala. Makikita mo lang dyan yung mga parang, alam mo yun, yung malalambot na kulay gray na something. Hindi mo makita kung anong iniisip niya. So meaning to say, our mind, okay, cannot be seen by others. Or your mind cannot be seen by others. But others can observe and study your behavior. Can study our behavior. Nakikita kasi yan eh. Diba? So we cannot read their minds. But we can discern and study yung nakikita, diba? Yung kitang-kita mo, yung ano yung nangyayari based on their actions. So, yun yung tinatawag na overt. O-V-E-R-T. Overt behavior. It is a visible responses and reactions ng isang tao. And then, you can also study another person's, yung tinatawag naman na covert. Nilagyan mo lang yung overt ng letter C sa unahan, di ba? In front of it. Letter C, so, naging covert naman siya. Ito yung tinatawag na mental processes like thinking, dreaming. So how you gonna observe that? Of course, you're gonna use scientific tools for that, like interviewing and using brain scans, something like that. So ito yung mga bagay na sinasabi ko na really, it's very complex and at napakarami ng debate dito sa psychology na kung ito bang its core ay talaga bang nagfo-fall siya under category ng science kasi nadidismiss talaga siya pag pinag-uusapan ng science kasi yung psychology parang pag sinabi nating science meron kasi yan na tinatawag na object di ba? Object of study can be observed by third party observers or by other people and not simply experienced by a person. So that is the psychology because you see something sa person na yan, kung ano nangyayari. Kasi hindi natin siya pwedeng i-dissect yung mind. So, nagbabase lang tayo doon. Kaya nga, ito yung sinasabi nila ang psychology is not really pure science. But it is a science but it's not really pure science. Kasi katulad niyan na yung mga haka-haka na mga sinasabi nila, can you measure the mind? Hindi, di ba? Yun yung problema Ang laging yung sinasabi ng scientist can you measure the mind literally? Pwede mo bang sukatin ng ruler? Hindi, di ba? So doon na bagsak na And ang babanggatin lang ng mga psychologists, yes, we can from 1 to 10. Hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung ruler diyan or yung utak mo, yung mind mo. Hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung ruler diyan That's what I mean to say. Yun yung problem with the psychology. And then they're gonna give you an answer like, okay, maybe 3, 3.5 or 4. So the only way you can know mind is by coming out of it. So what I mean by that is being in the mind and examining it has its own problems associated with it. It might turn out to be good or bad. In summary, about psychology, about our topic psychology, psychology is a science. Why? This is a science dealing with the study of mind. That is psychology. Although it is incomplete itself, though it is science, we can say. And now, this brings us to the topic of how is psychology a science? Well, it has 3 characteristics, but psychology is a science because it follows the empirical method. Ano ba yung empirical method? Yung empirical method na sinasabi natin dito, o pinag-uusapan natin ay it involves the use of objective. Kaya yung number 1 characteristics niya, number 1 dito ay objective, meaning based on facts and not on feelings. So, sa madalit salita, itong objective, okay, kailangan yung isang psychologist ay open-minded siya sa lahat ng possibilities. Meron siyang talagang masugid na pag-test at pag-validate ng mga facts and ng kanyang hypothesis bago niya i-accept na theories. Okay? Before accepting them as theories. Number 2, yung empirical. Meaning that observations are made and conclusions drawn only after analyzing the observations and hypothesis. Pag nagawa na natin yon, na-observe na natin siya, na-test na natin yung hypothesis natin, at na-validate na natin yung mga facts based on experiment, kasi si empirical nagbe-base siya, nagre-rely yan dun sa experiment and observation rather than argument in order to arrive at research outcomes. So, yan yung empirical na tinatawag. At yung ikatlo ay tinatawag nating systematic. Ang ibig sabihin nito, it should be organized. It should be all the materials and information are classified and arranged into meaningful way. Anyways, regardless of how you view psychology, kung paano mo siya, yung pananaw mo dun sa psychology, it's either going to be placed into the social sciences or science category, gaya ng napag-usapan natin kanina lang. So, to support psychology as a science, we turn to the idea of empirical evidence. So, kaya, meron tayo niyan. So, masasabi natin na psychology is a science because it has an empirical evidence na able to be supported and verified yung mga observations natin and experience, as opposed to simply just relying on our logic or theory. So that is my emphasis on that. So through empirical evidence, psychologists can understand human behavior because of observation. Nakita mo, 'di ba? And since the mind, kakabanggit lang natin, we cannot dissect the mind. We cannot read the mind. So since the mind cannot be directly observed, it is through actions that psychologists are able to better grasp what may be happening in the mind. I hope na marami kang natutunan kahit papano. Hanggang dito muna tatapusin natin itong video. Hanggang sa muli. So that's all from me for now, and I'll see you in the next lesson.